From an early age, I saw what entrepreneurship was like. My dad would make millions of dollars on a contract. We would be eating spaghetti and ketchup. And I'm like, didn't we just make a bunch of money?
You know, one of these really successful type people, and he had lost everything. And he said, there's a big difference between being broke and poor.
I think you're as successful as you can eat failure, that you can drag yourself over glass, asphalt, naked. That's been my road to success. I've been a multimillionaire.
People don't have any idea. There's always those setbacks.
We're doing what the government wants us to do. You put $1 million worth of a property in Vegas, the government's getting 1% a year for what you created. That's free money. I called all my banks when I was $12.8 million in debt, called them every single day. That reputation still is in the banking industry. Mark will tell you he's the luckiest guy ever. And he branded broadcast.com, sold it for like $5 billion to Yahoo. Today, if you go to broadcast.com, there's nothing.
Today's guest, Andrew, is a serial entrepreneur who has built and exited multiple successful businesses. Those businesses have helped thousands of entrepreneurs access funding and capital when banks wouldn't play ball. He's known for breaking down complex financial situations when real money is on the line. Andrew understands how influence works because he has lived it. From building companies to building audiences to helping people create leverage in their own lives. This conversation is about money, power, and how to position yourself to win in the long term. Andrew Cartwright, welcome to the Power of Influence.
My name is John Haremza. I am your host, and I'm super excited today. We have got Andrew Cartwright. He's here in Las Vegas. I'm in Las Vegas as well. And this is going to be a fascinating interview because you are involved in so many things, right? And, you know, we touched a little bit the other night at the party about it, you know, when you were like, what was it, 12 years old?
Oh, yeah. When my dad cut me off. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I know you've got massive podcast, like 20 million views a month or something like that. And so, and you were just talking about, you know, buying banks, and you're in development, you're in, you know, crypto and blockchain. And yeah, so this is going to be fascinating, you know, just to kind of unpack all this of everything you've done. But maybe we could just back up a little bit.
Your place is gorgeous, by the way. Thank you. And your wife's incredible. You know, your wife's absolutely incredible. And your dog I'm in love with. So, yeah, you must be really happy here.
I am definitely really happy here.
Your daughter's amazing, too. She is. Yeah, just quality.
You never met the other one.
She met the other one, but I'm a big fan. Yeah. Big fan. She's awesome. She's really awesome.
Yeah, it's been, I think I've been here 7 years, so absolutely love it here.
I've been here since 1999. Okay. So it's been 26 years. But I also have a house in San Francisco, though I'm only there for like 3 days a week. So for tax reasons.
Yeah. So do you have multiple places then?
Yeah. We have a place in Poland. We have a place in Napa. We have a place in Cathedral Hill, like Nancy Pelosi's area and all the billionaires. And then we have built a resort home, which I would love to have you over in Dragon Ridge.
Okay. Yeah. Here. Yeah. Up in McDonald Highland there.
Yeah. It's where, what's his name? The boxer?
Merriweather. No, the other one.
No, the one that has his own production company now. No, it's not. De La Hoya. Oh. De La Hoya lives right. And then we have a bunch of billionaires. Nancy Walden is one of our neighbors. You know, she's hurting. She only has like $13 billion. So she's struggling. And then we have Andrew that owns Penn Express. That's another neighbor. He's worth about $3.5 billion. So got some really people that created, the guy that created Wish is in there. That app, that buy stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like the who's who of, you know, business up there.
Yeah, it's like the Beverly Hills of Las Vegas for sure.
Yeah, well, maybe some of the...
I'm like, it's...
Coming here.
You know what's so funny? I challenge my tax values every year on all my properties. And I went and looked at the tax value, and I was running down to handle some of my properties. And then I looked, the taxes were undervalued. And I was like, I'm not gonna go like way undervalued. I'm like, okay, so yeah, it was not something I was gonna challenge. So, but I recommend doing that every year. Look at the deadline for Nevada is January 15th. So if you don't challenge your property values by then, you can end up paying more every year than you have to.
Okay. Yeah, I need to look at that.
You it in the mail.
Yeah, I know, and I think I received it, and it wasn't like a sticker shock or anything. I thought it was okay, but is it a good idea to challenge that then, just to kind of keep them in check, or?
Absolutely. I've reduced values quite a few times and saved, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. I look at all my tax bills to, they don't care. It's a desk appraisal, a lot of times automated.
I mean, you look at taxes in general because, it's just like I get irritated every time I hear, the rich need to pay their fair share. Number one, they pay most of the taxes, right? But I mean, even like when they were challenging Trump, and it's like, hey, all I'm doing is trying to take advantage of the laws you guys put in place. I'd be a terrible business person if I didn't, right? But it's just like nobody really digs into the common sense aspect of that kind of stuff.
I think if you look at it from an overall responsibility level, the government looks like, how do we guide capital to the places that need it? And the way they drive capital to the places that are needed is by offering tax advantages by going there. You have the opportunity zone, which is I've talked about for the last 3 or 4 years, where there were tax advantages for going to disadvantaged areas and building property, starting companies. And you had this like a tax abatement for like 7 years. And then a lot of your gains over that 7 years, you don't have to pay any taxes on. So if you buy a company for $1 million and it's worth $7 million when you exit, the $6 million you made, you pay no taxes on it. And people would say, hey, that's wrong. But wait, that money would have never gotten to that community otherwise.
Why don't they dig into that kind of stuff? Because the media and, these, liberals, they share the other side of it, where the common sense, the economic impact of giving that person this tax incentive to build there. Otherwise, they'll go build somewhere else. Right. And so.
Yeah, I mean, they drive so much of the development and the direction and what goes on. I mean, wealthy people are only trying to navigate the system, and it's like we have these rules we have to follow in order to do that. So ultimately, we're doing what the government wants us to do, and as a result of that, we're creating jobs, we're creating taxes. We're improving property values. I mean, you take a piece of dirt that has nothing on it, you put $1 million worth of a property in Vegas, the government's getting 1% a year for what you created. Yeah. That's free money for somebody else to do the work.
Absolutely.
Plus you're creating jobs at the same time.
So backing up a little bit, did you come from an entrepreneurial family, or what did your dad do, or what did you grow up in?
Yeah, so I grew up in my biological father left when I was like 3 or 5 years old. And then my stepfather, who jumped off a boat, didn't speak English, started a construction company. So from an early age, I saw what entrepreneurship was like. My dad would make millions of dollars on a contract, and then we would be eating spaghetti and ketchup. And I'm like, didn't we just make a bunch of money? And, my mom would always say, we're like squirrels. We have to pack away our nuts because we never know, if it's going to be a rough winter. So, it was feast or famine. And what that kind of taught me was the discipline of having money and knowing that you don't know what the future holds. So I had that imprinted on me since I was like 5-7 years old. My mom was, she was a jeweler. So she basically had her own jewelry business. She ended up selling vacuums. She became like the #1 salesperson for Electrolux and selling vacuums. So very entrepreneurial, household. Nobody in my house ever held down a job.
Right. All somewhat independent, or, yeah, that's great. So, because we're a victim of our environment, right? And, the podcast is even the power of influence, and the people that we hang around with, our environment when we grow up, it all, kind of shapes us, right?
Right.
Develops our beliefs.
Yeah, there's a lot of science behind, does the environment create the person, or does the person create what is it? What is it? Nature over nurture?
Yeah.
What is your nature? I think my nature was, to be a police officer or a fireman, or, maybe go in the military. That was my nature, was security, right? But I never had that growing up. So what I knew was entrepreneurship. So probably wouldn't have been my core go-to, because, I operate from that security and, that.
And I think you started like your first business at like 14 or something like that? 12.
My dad cut me off financially, so nobody was hiring at 12 years old. I went to school. I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, with like E40 and Rashad and a lot of Mac Dre and stuff like that. So they were Vallejo. So I was born in San Pablo, raised in Vallejo. My relatives were in Oakland. So I went from Richmond to Oakland to Vallejo. Those were my stomping grounds. And a lot of people have the big rope chains and the Mercedes signs. So I looked at what people desired and wanted, and then went, if I could get that, then they would probably buy it from me. So I went and I checked out that I could get a resale permit, which has no age limit. So I got a resale permit to buy wholesale. Got a ride to San Francisco with my mom. She took me around all the jewelry stuff. I had my own license, to buy wholesale. And I made a photocopy of all the stuff that I could deliver. And there's like 1,000% markup on the items that I had selected, these Mercedes signs and, Cadillac and big rope chains and all that stuff. So I went back to school and I took that photocopy and took orders, and I just doubled the price. So if something was maybe $1,000 at the store, it'd be $200. And my cost was $100. So I'd collect $100, I'd go buy it, and then I'd collect the other half. Right. So I collected enough money from orders to be able to buy it. And they're like, these were drug dealers and bullies and stuff like that. So they looked at me like, yeah, I'll give you $100, because if you don't pay me back, I'll tear you up, So they didn't worry about getting their money back, and I would always deliver. So started selling, and then I realized that, okay, what else could I do? So being that I had this access to wholesale, I started selling on the streets of San Francisco, scarves and G-Shock watches, different things. And then I started selling to stores, and I started a company called E&A Imports, and I sold to Longs and Payless and Macy's, and,
So how old were you at that time?
About 15 by the time I was actually selling to stores. Yeah, I had one suit. It was the color of crap, and I would go with that suit to all my appointments. So like they'd see me, and I was like the exact same suit. It was oversized. It was too big for me. The whole bit. I remember what.
And so was the strategy behind that to make them like feel like, I got to help this kid out, or?
Yeah, and the thing was, I was 15. None of them knew I was 15. So they thought I was 18, 19 years old, and the whole bit. In fact, one of the stores called me and said, we want to see your local business license, because I had a state license. And I said, well, okay. And they said, in order for us to pay you, we have to have your license. So I went to my mom, and my mom's like, hogwash, you don't have to have a license. They don't need that. And I'm like, well, it's the law, Mom. You have to have a business license to do business. There's a fine. It's like $1,000 a day for like not having a license, or $100 a day, whatever it was. I knew it was a lot of money, more money than I had. So I went to the Vallejo Business License Bureau, 15 years old. And I went in there and I said, I need to get a business license. I need to, collect the money from an order I've already delivered. I owe all this money to my supplier, and I have to get a check from them in order to do it. And they said, we're sorry, we can't give you a business license. And I said, you can't give me a business license, but I'm in business. They go, well, it's a license with the city, so you need to be 18 years old. And I was like, oh my God, it was like, I've been checkmated. They've got the product, and thank God they had the product. And I'm so glad it worked out the way. My whole life would have been different if this didn't happen, what I did next. And that is, what I did is I said, well, where does it say that? And they said, well, it's in the codes. So I challenged it. And imagine, this lady's probably 40, 45 years old. You got a 15-year-old. A 15-year-old, probably your kid, your age, asking you like, okay, show me proof. Show me proof. Like, what? Where does it say that? So she goes, where they're in the codes. So I'm at that age, I'm thinking codes. Codes, is that like Green Lantern? Like a special sign? Like, what is a code? Like, it was so foreign to me. Like the idea of a code. Like, what would a 15-year-old know about code? Right? So I said, what's a code? She goes, well, basically what it is we have meetings, and whatever we agree on in the meeting, we write up the law, and that becomes the code. That becomes the law of the land. You know, we sit around with all the
So it's not like official. It's just kind of like
It is official. Okay. So they'll meet the actual, representatives, like the individual, the mayor, and then each one of the different people in the different regions, and then they agree on what they're going to do, and it becomes law, and then they write a code. So there's administrative code, and then there's revised statute. So when they have those meetings, they make administrative code, and that code becomes the how to get stuff done. The revised statute is what not to do. The administrative code is what to do. That's our legal system, right? So I went in there, I said, can I see the codes? So she brings out this thing, it's a binder like this, has and it's like dot matrix. I don't know, you remember dot matrix? How old are you?
I'm 60.
You know what dot matrix is. You remember the dot, the printing that was dot matrix? Okay. You know, with the side that had the holes in them?
Yeah, with that's the pull the printer paper out. Yeah.
So with the wheel yeah. So I had that. I'm going through it. I spent 4 hours going through the whole book. I read everything because I was like, here I have all this money owed to me. I'm a kid. I'm 15 years old. I've already delivered the product. I can't get it back. They've already sold half of it. They're not paying me because I don't have a business license. I get to the back of the book, and it was in the very back of the book. It said exemptions. And it said if you were under 16, you didn't have to pay for a business license. And it was on one line. I have that one line on my computer screen. It says City of Vallejo, and it's like, I don't know, whatever, at any rate. In I think it was 65, randomly in a meeting, they decided that if you're under 16, you don't have to pay for a business license. So I showed them, I said, percentage right here, if I'm under 16, I don't have to pay for a business license, right? And and they're like, so she goes back, I'll never forget that. I met this guy one time, and his name is burned in my brain. His name is Glenn Bod. I think he's in Southern California now. Somebody told me that watches my YouTube. And Glenn Bod came out, and I was scared when he came out because here comes Dad, the business license dad, right? So he comes out, and I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble now. He's going to say something. He looks at me, shakes his head, and he writes me a business license. And he says, here you go.
Wow.
And I didn't even have to pay for it.
Nice. Moments that change.
Yeah, I've said that before and literally cried because that moment was there are moments in life that are pivotal. That was pivotal. The 12 years old, my dad cutting me off, pivotal. First time I ever thought about taking my life. 15, man, like when you're up against the wall and the necessity level raises you to a point where you're reading codes that you don't understand. You know.
So tell me, what did your friends, I mean, your 15-year-old friends, or even your parents think about, your entrepreneurial spirit? You've got a business going at 15. You're arguing or challenging your superiors or people in the licensing. I mean, what did that feel like, or what did they say to you?
I think they were just blown away. I think for the most part, like I was cut off at 12, so I didn't have money for food. So I went to the cafeteria. I cut a deal with the cafeteria. I worked for food. So they gave me enough food. They said, well, you take as much as you want. So I fed 8 to 10 of my friends every single day that didn't have money, right? So, and I talked to every single girl that went across the line. So I sold their numbers if they're interested in the guy. So I was like hustling numbers, and I was working for food. So I think I just, everywhere I looked, it was like, where's the opportunity? And how can I contribute here? So
the friends or the people you hung around with, were they of the same mind, or?
Oh, no. They admired what I was doing, but, I was in I breakdanced. So I was doing windmills, and I was on part of a group called Freestyle, and we breakdance all over the place. So it was kind of just an interesting, urban, exciting time for sure.
Yeah. So then how did you progress from there? This 15-year-old.
So at 15, I did retail. I was in wholesale. I was wholesaling to stores, and I thought, okay, what's next? So I started to me, it was always about progression, about, progressing forward. So after retail, you go to wholesale. What's below wholesale? Below wholesale is distribution, right? And below distribution is manufacturing, right? So I was cutting through each layer. And so I thought, okay, the next thing for me is to be a manufacturer. So I opened up a framing factory and started framing. And then I took everything I had. Excuse me.
So is that like picture frames, or?
Yeah, like pictures you have on the wall. Cut the molding and foam core and the whole bit. And from there, I was like, each one of these feels like sand hills, running uphill and going backwards, it was hard. Excuse me. So I met this guy, and I'd listened to Tony Robbins. I'd listened to Dale Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie's work, Earl Nightingale, Think Grow, all the books, cybernetics, just everything I could get my hands on. It was like book after book after book. And they all hyped me up. They didn't give me a way to go. And then I met E. Joseph Kosman, and I gave him all my money at the time. And he taught me how to get exclusive rights, how to patent, how to trademark, how to open up LLCs, how to get foreign money, how to get government money, how to promote at trade shows, how to do direct mail, how to basically do it.
Fundamental techniques and activity that you need to, do in the business world. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the personal development and the philosophy, like of Jim Rohn and Earl Nightingale and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, right. They don't teach you the actual activities that you need to, open a business, like how to get a patent and how to do this or how to do that. So you had a mentor that
taught me how to do that.
Okay.
And then I got exclusive rights to 3 different product lines. One of them blew up, and was all over Central and Northern California, and had 200 employees at 17 years old. My youngest manager was 37 years old. Yeah, it was wild.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really wild. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, all I did was count money for the most part.
And so many people just count money. So many people, they get to a certain point and then they just think, okay, I'm arrived, and they just kind of like stop, right? And they just kind of maintain, and you just continue to push further, see further, push further, bigger vision. Okay, this was fun. Now where can I go?
Yeah, I love business. So for me, it's never been about the money. It's always been about learning and growing and progressing forward. That's been the push. So to me, it's like, what's next? What can I learn?
Yeah, I know you mentioned you've done some things in the crypto space as well.
Love crypto. A lot of stuff that I've done in crypto has been, I'm in Ether, I'm in Bitcoin, a lot of the stable stuff. I have AI trading bots that trade for me 24/7 that I have. I don't really promote it as much, all the stuff that I do, just because.
And what is that actually trading?
It's trading. I've staked a bunch of stuff too. Like I stake Ethereum, I stake USTD, USDC, I stake, and then I've got a trading bot that's playing with right now it's trading. Look, there goes a trade. There goes a trade. There goes a trade. It's trading all the time. Back and forth. I have bots that basically AI bots that are trading for me.
So where did you like develop those, or are they?
I had a company reached out to me that I thought was really cool. They're regulated here in the United States, and just started open up an account with them, started playing with it, and then got the bots going, and it's just been great.
Yeah, and the thing about a bot, at least it doesn't have the emotion attached to it.
It never sleeps. Right. 24/7. If the market tanks, it's going to get me out.
No FOMO, no fear of losing out.
It's all the right.
Right.
Market's all the.
Does it have like a safety gap on it too?
Yeah. So it trades out in and out of currencies, and it's and a lot of stuff. I stay out of. Just if I don't understand it, I don't do it. That's kind of like how I roll.
Yeah. Are you doing anything with meme coins?
I haven't participated a lot in meme coins. I helped launch a bunch of them. Been on the backside of it. So if there's not a real project behind it, that I know, because right now I'm looking at 26 companies voted on, deciding, narrowing that down to 16 probably in the next week. And we'll invest $800,000 in about 2 months in 2 companies. So 400 each into the companies. And
so what are you looking for in those companies? What are, to be the winner, the one that you're actually putting the money in?
So this is VC capital, right? So this is money that I'm looking for a 25 to 25x return on. It's not the PE capital. I invest in PE too, and Epic 99, where I buy companies with my audience, where I put up the down payment, and then we buy the company, and they run it. I don't want to run another company. I'm all done with that. I don't mind lending money. I don't mind investing money, but I don't want to I don't want to be the day-to-day guy.
Sharing your experiences or your wisdom on
strategy, marketing, all that stuff. But what am I looking for? First thing I do when we're looking at 26 companies is I look for the fatal flaw. What's the fatal flaw? And what's going to ultimately kill the business? What are they lacking? To narrow it first off. Then the next thing I'll look at is what's the spend in the market? How much is being spent in that particular market, right? How real is the market? And what are its threats, right? What are its opportunities? How big is the opportunity, and how cemented is the competition base, right? If it's fiercely competitive, and we have so many AI companies that are coming at us right and left, and it's most of them are just a covering over ChatGPT, and we're this ain't a real company. This it's what have you really built? Where's your real intellectual property? So it's really looking for what's that mold. The other thing is how much they're asking for and what they value the company at. If the market spend is really big in a section, then the company, we could value it at $10 or $15 million. But if it's not, and they're asking for a big multiplier, and they haven't really produced anything.
Kind of like your own little Shark Tank.
Yeah, although Shark Tank is really PE money, already successful stuff. Right. Everybody on Shark Tank pretty much is, I could underwrite and give them a loan. They don't have to get rid of part of their company. The reason you go on Shark Tank is for publicity. Right. You could get bank money on almost all those deals. They look for cash flow. That none of those sharks are literally risking anything when you look at it from a banking standpoint. Although Mark Cuban said he hasn't made any money on what he's put in, so he hasn't got a return on it. So not like it's hurting him. Yeah. It's not like he's invested a big chunk of his, Yeah,
because he really created his wealth by some big stock play, wasn't it?
I've hung out with Mark quite a few times. So Mark will tell you he's the luckiest guy ever. And what it was, he started a company. There was another guy had started a company, and he crammed the guy down to I think it was 5% or 10 or 2% or whatever. and he branded broadcast.com. Yahoo at the time needed something. Their board was like, we need something. We're getting crushed by Google. We need anything that we can go brag about. So he said he had all the rights to all the, college teams and stuff for broadcast.com. And so he sold it for like, I don't know, $4.9 billion or $5 billion to Yahoo. Today, if you go to broadcast.com, there's nothing. And for a long time, it redirects to Yahoo. But pretty much it blew up. In fact, when he sold it, he hedged it. What's been said is that, he hedged against all that stock that he got as if he knew that it was going to blow up in the first place.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's he got really lucky. Maybe it was Yahoo that screwed up, that could have made broadcast into something. Mark probably has his own story, but Mark told me, he goes, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. The 2 times that we hung out is like, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, that you can get lucky. It just, it'll happen. He's a great guy. He's a lot of fun. He's very smart, very,
Although I do question how he can believe some of his political views.
Oh yeah, we won't go there. Let's say I lean towards Elon Musk on a lot of his,
Yeah, I mean, he because Mark kind of doubled down on that whole election thing, and I'm just like, man, I used to think you were like such a sharp business person, and you're putting your credibility behind this person. That was surprising to me.
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't take a political view at all on my channel. Because I, really want my audience to make up their own mind. Right. I vote my vote, and I don't,
That's why I get irritated or frustrated with celebrities. I was listening to Megyn Kelly, and she was talking about Lopez. And, listen, if you got some advice on some makeup or some clothing or some beauty tips, I'm all about it. I'm all ears, but keep your political views to yourself. I'm not going to listen to you about who I should vote for.
No, my wife and I, we vote with our wallet. That's the household thing is like, we vote with our wallet. How is this going
to make the biggest impact?
How is this going to impact us? And since the thing that hits closest to home is finance, we vote with our wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we line it up and look at which policies align with our financial outcomes that are going to be favorable, and that's the way we vote. Maybe that's wrong, but that's how we vote.
Yeah, a lot of people say, well, money shouldn't be so important, and like Zig Ziglar says, it's only important if you don't have it, right? It ranks right up there with oxygen.
Yes, for sure. I'd rather be I've had it and not had it, and I better to have it.
So what are some of the real lessons, or have you had some like major things that didn't work out, some major economic, downfalls or impacts, or is this just continue to win after win after win?
This will be like a 10-hour podcast if you want to talk about my losses. I've had a ton of losses, had a lot of stuff blow up and learned lots of lessons along the way. I think you're as successful as you can eat failure, that you can drag yourself over glass and asphalt naked and bleed heavily. Then I think you could, that's been my road to success. I've been a multimillionaire, decamillionaire, and beyond that 4 different times. I've watched $100 million evaporate in front of my eyes and be $12.8 million in debt. I just talked to one of the bankers that saw me go through that. He goes, you were the only dude that picked up the phone. I called all my banks when I was $12.8 million in debt, and called them every single day. And that reputation still is in the banking industry, which is why I pick up the phone. I get whatever I want, because they know who I am. I didn't file bankruptcy. I took care of everybody. I paid everybody back. And I secured the assets. I got the most out of them and paid them the rest. So, to me, what else was I going to do? Everybody else I knew filed bankruptcy. And I was like, what am I going to do every day? I might as well just I'll work for free for the bank. So I did.
And what's been some of your biggest windfalls?
Oh, biggest wins. Oh, God. Licensing, obviously. That's the biggest one. Did that several times. Yeah, I've got lots of huge wins. The funny thing about wins is they're generally perpetual. Failure usually, death only happens once. Like when a company dies, it's usually dead, right? But a company that lives and thrives tends to be around for a while. So like somebody was asking me, should I start 2 companies? Everybody tells me I should focus on one. And my advice to them is, why don't you start 4? Right? Like, because if half of them are going to fail, there's a good chance you'll end up with one. Right? The first half will fail, and then the other half will fail. And then maybe if you can keep one thriving, that one will feed you for the rest of your life. So that's the other thing. I think the biggest regret I have, though, is I kept creating companies. I've created over 32 companies in 17 industries, and a lot of that's just because I love learning. But if I would have been able to tell myself and understood banking at 17, I'd be a billionaire today. I'd literally have I'd be in the billions quite a bit. But I didn't understand that.
The thing of it is, some of those like really impactful things that we could learn, like finance and banking, and it's not really taught, and most people out there have no idea how that stuff works.
Yeah, and it's like I just before I came over here, a deal, like if you know how to structure a deal, you have an infinite credit card, right? Like for example, they called up their properties in Georgia. We just did 8 of them today. Got them in the hopper, and we'll get them funded in a couple of weeks. But as long as the debt coverage ratio is 1.1, right, meaning their property, their payment, interest, taxes, and insurance, if they can cover that and they end up with 10% they can put in their pocket, because I only do loans on people that will feed people, not eat people, right? So I don't do consumer loans. I do investment loans only. But you have an infinite credit card. On my credit line, I don't require tax returns. I don't care what you make. I don't ask for your bank statements. I don't care.
If resisting to work.
Yeah. If you have a 680 credit score, done. Fix and flip, ground up construction, or rentals. I'm like, and I love that stuff. I love like solving problems and fixing stuff, and and this bank that they're with is literally defaulting and trying to take all the properties from them, and they have equity, and I'll be giving them cash back on top of it. So I'll be writing them a check and restructuring their loan and giving them a better bank rate. That's fun.
Yeah, really helping somebody.
Yeah, totally. But if I didn't know if I knew what I know now, and I could go back to 18, I'd be, in the billions, because I didn't realize that banking.
So when did you start to really understand that stuff?
Sad, 2003.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I started my career in 85, but everything was cash. So that success early on came with, I never had to worry about credit. I never had to have a credit card. I didn't have an auto loan. I didn't have a mortgage. Everything was cash.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the money. So I never built up credit. I didn't understand leverage. And if I understood leverage, which is the number one thing in business to learn, is leverage. Leveraging people, leveraging capital, leveraging assets. Once you learn the magic of leverage, there was a saying I learned in like 2003 was like, give me the right lever and I could lift the world. And I thought about that. It's like, if I have a long enough lever, and you have the pendulum here, you could lift the world, right? It's how long the lever is and where the focal point is. And you could move anything. And I just never realized that.
Yeah, the leverage is a major thing, because 99% of the people have no idea what that means, and they have no leverage in their life. And like you said, leveraging money, leveraging people, leveraging time.
Yeah, we're just not taught that. We're not taught, like, figure something out and then replace yourself. right? Make some money and invest it, and then grow it, and then it'll snowball, and then you'll have compounding.
Yeah, nothing works harder for you than your money, right?
Yeah, like all my money works. None of it's lazy. I always think of like, if you have money in a bank account, that's like putting money on the couch with some Cheetos, watching a football game. My money doesn't, that's not how my money lives. My money is on a ridiculous treadmill, working its butt off, tired out of its mind. I work every dollar that I get is like a soldier I put to work. Like, let's go. You need to run.
It was like 2003 when you really kind of made that shift in the way money works and how to leverage it.
Yeah, because I mean, I had a construction company going. By 2005, I had 14 companies going that I was running, same time.
So the regular person now listening to this, intrigued by this concept of leverage and leveraging money, what would be your recommendation? How would they be able to enter and start some leverage?
The tough thing is, what's fascinating is I had to become an underwriter to learn how deals were structured. It's math. If you understand the math, then everything is easy. You understand the multipliers of companies. You understand the debt coverage ratios of loans. And then you have a 680 credit score that the world is your oyster. Like literally, I just did a deal. We got them 100% financing to buy a business because they had experience in another business. Got them 100% financing. They didn't put a dime out of their pocket. And they were shocked when we did it. They're like, what? Yeah. So, the SOPs now, like at the SBA and some of the other lending institutions are just wild. The USDA has some unbelievable stuff. So I think the problem is it isn't out there about debt coverage ratios, the math and what it takes. It's been like a carefully guarded secret by the wealthy for a long time, because why would you want competition? Why would you want it? Like, why don't you teach this in 9th grade? Because they don't want the competition.
Yeah. I mean, the whole educational system essentially teaches you to be,
I think it was originally funded by the Rockefellers, right? Like let's just teach people to work for us. Yeah. It wasn't at all structured that way. So we're just not taught to win, the game of finance. You don't learn to balance a checkbook, balance an account. And you don't know what a P&L is, what a balance sheet is, what a cash flow statement is, what a PE ratio is, or what multipliers are.
Obviously understanding all that stuff, but then, putting it to action or acting on it, because there's a lot of people out that may know this stuff, but they don't leverage it, or they don't utilize it, or maybe it's fear. But I also believe that people at this incredibly high level of success, like yourself, there's certain things that you have that can't really be taught. There's like an instinct. Would you agree with that? That there's there's because I remember talking to somebody one day and about my business, and I was like, I can teach you what to do, but I can't really teach you what I do, right? Because there's a sense of knowing or just, because in the middle of things and decisions, those little decisions, that instinct makes a big difference. Yeah. Would you say that's true in your case?
100%. I want to believe everybody can do anything. My mom was always like, if you have the will, you'll figure it out. Yeah, there's a way. But I almost think if you're the sooner you realize that you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur or that sort of thing, and the better, because it's not for the weak-hearted. Like, I'm very patient. I can't teach you patience. I can't teach you discipline. I can't teach you resilience. Like, we have the highest confidence level in the United States. Like, we're the most confident in the world. But I blow on people and they collapse. Like, I'm like, that's all? That's all you got? That's it? I mean, the whole snowflake thing is like real. Yeah. Like, I would buy as many companies as I could find someone to run them. Mm-hmm. Who can run a business anymore? We got baby boomers all sitting around going, Who do we get to take over? Like, our kids don't want it. There's nobody trained up. Like, they don't understand, like, if you're going to run a company, you need to understand what it means to be CEO. You need to know what it means to be CFO. Can you handle the finances? You have to, COO. You need to be able to operate the company. You need to be able to wear every single hat in the company so that you can run the company. You need to speak the language of every one of those departments. CEO, CFO, COO, your HR. You need to speak every department. And they don't speak the language. It's like, but they want to own the business. It's like, how do you own the business? You can't even hire somebody.
And so most of what you're talking about there really comes, the learning is in the doing.
It's 100% action over education for sure. You will, like, the best learning is on the job.
Yeah, because I think of some people, they're like, I gotta, learn all this stuff first, and it's like, you can learn it as you do it, right?
I think it's the only way to learn is trial by fire. Just throw me in the fire. I'll figure out it's hot. It's
and not that I'm against. I mean, hey, obviously the education, college, all that kind of stuff. It's right for a lot of people, But it's interesting, the statistics on entrepreneurs. Most of them, were not that good at school, right? And I used to joke about it. Somebody has to stay back from college to create jobs for those that go.
That's funny. That's a good one. Yeah, like, I got straight A's because if I brought a B home, my dad would whip me.
So some extra motivation there.
I didn't want to get beat. So, I brought straight A's home. And I negotiated with my teachers. First of all, I fed them. So I'd tell them, I'm the one that brings you coffee and the cafeteria and donuts. So, if they gave me a B, I asked for progress reports so I could head them off at the pass, because you had semesters when your grades become cement. So every quarter, I would ask for a progress report so that I could see and analyze what the teacher was planning on giving me. And then I would negotiate for extra credit or whatever, and I would tell them, like, I bring a B home, I'm getting beat. So you want me to do extra credit? You want me to wash your car? Like, what do you need? Right. Like, you want me to clean the...
I'm sure you've carried that into your business life too, progress rate. I mean, evaluate what, how is it working? I mean, I call it a personal checkup, because every business, I think, has, there's a half a dozen things or so that really move the needle, that really make a difference. And you got to constantly be checking yourself, how am I doing in these areas?
Yeah. One of the things I look at, and I've consulted lots of companies, restructured them and helped them out. But when I look at even acquiring a company, it's like, can we make 1% improvement a day, like, or even a week? Because 1% improvement, like, say in a week, and you got 52 weeks in a year.
That's big growth.
What's 1% times 52? Right? So you start looking at it. The great thing is people don't realize 1% sounds like really, it is achievable. It's like, I call it like the give a shit factor. Like, just 1% more, 1% more. It starts to compound. And the growth of that is amazing. Just improve 1% in different departments. Like, lots of companies could be buying assets that make money, and they don't use the cash flow. And that's where you need a good CFO. Good CFO will be buying real estate, be buying investments, be buying your competition. Right. The CFO can make the difference between a $100 million company and a $500 million company.
Just like when you were talking about looking at those companies and looking for the, what did you call it? Looking for the fatal flaw. And, because I think a lot of companies, they're blind to it. Yeah. And they don't ask that, they don't constantly be asking us. They look at all the great stuff they're doing, but they don't look at where can we improve, or what are we doing wrong, or what can go wrong, right?
I call them scotomas. That's actually a word. And that's a blind spot you don't see. And I'm always asking other people for feedback to tell me what I don't see, because the things you know are not going to hurt you. The things you don't know are not going to hurt you. And I say that because the things you don't know, you don't know them. I don't know what's on the other side of that wall, but I have a pretty good guess of what's on the other side of it. So I don't know, but I'm pretty comfortable with what's on the other side of that wall. Right. But what you don't know that you don't know, that's the stuff that'll smack you over the head, crush you, collapse your business, and destroy you.
Yeah, that's a really great point because, like you said, there's things you know, there's things you know you don't know, but it's the ones you think you do know that you don't actually know. That's going to hurt you.
It's going to hit you. That's the stuff that'll just blow you up. Right. That's the stuff that always I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And that's the stuff that's going to kill you. Yeah. That's the thing. And the cool thing is that I love operating in that realm of what I don't know, because that's where my learning space is. And I grow there. And I know that's the most dangerous place too. And that's the area that's going to crush me. So that's where I need to hang out.
What do you do there? Do you just like dig in like with questions and trying to surround yourself around the right people and trying to understand it? You know, like you said, you don't know if you don't know.
Part of it is, and I wrote about it in my book, The Origin of Opportunities. I will sit there and I'll look at something a lot longer than you would normally look at it. And I look to see things I didn't see before. And I would sit there long enough, almost like a meditation, to actually see something I hadn't seen before. Same thing with, a business. I sit there, you look at it, and a lot of people look at it, take it on its face value and then move. But if you really start looking at it, you spend the time. And then I listen and really listen. And not only to what I hear, but what am I not hearing? What's not being said, right? Because what's not being said could be more important than what's being said. Because, like, you're not saying it. Why aren't you saying it? Are you saying it because you don't know? Are you saying it because you're omitting that and there is a fatal flaw? You're trying to hide something. So there's a lot of times there's more said in what's not said than what's actually said.
And I would imagine that type of an awareness, again, that's part of that unique edge, that special talent or ability that you have to see things.
Yeah.
That the other person just doesn't see, think about, or realize, right?
Or don't spend the time.
Right. They don't know that they don't know.
They don't. And if you sit there long enough, you'll see things you hadn't seen before. Yeah. You realize things you didn't realize before, and your life will change before your eyes. Yeah. It's pretty.
Being open to that, for sure.
Yeah. It's not comfortable.
Yeah. So are you working on anything? I know you talked about these, 27 or 19 companies?
So we're processing these 26. Like, I think tonight we'll be down to about 16. And then in the next couple months, we'll be down to about 6 or 7.
You have a team of people that are doing this, and so you kind of get more in. You get kind of give them guidelines, and then you get more into the final 4 type thing.
They'll vote on it and decide and then we'll get down to it, and there'll be about 6 companies, and then the finalists we'll pick from that too. So it's a process, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's just seeing the dream and the possibility is.
Yeah. And I imagine it's not even, the numbers, obviously, the numbers got to work, but just probably the person behind it too.
Yeah. Our total investment, we've had an 8X. Our goal is always 20 to 50. But overall in the fund, we've gotten about 8X returns. So, we're 3 to 5 in the small PE markets, but 8 in the VCs. It's a little bit, it's fun.
And is that what keeps you going? Is it just the thrill of it, the fun of it, the helping people, because you don't need it? No, I'm good. So what drives you?
I love people. I love business. The nuances and I love learning. I'm a ferocious learner. I study every single day. I have ever since I can remember. I love learning new things every single day and growing as a human being. And I love growing with other people, and I like seeing people's dreams come true. That excites me. I love success. I love people to be successful. People that are successful, I'm happy for them. And I want them to be more successful. I want, Elon Musk to become the first trillionaire. Like that's exciting. Go do it, brother. You know what I mean? Like, that's great, because that's evidence it can be done. So to me, I like to see the evidence of that becoming reality. The other thing is that I get to use all my experience. Like, God's put me through so much pain and has made me into the relentless person that I am. And if I don't take and give away that experience that he, that was placed upon me, then I don't think I'm doing the right service. So some of it is God-based.
So the pain, I know you shared the story at 12, right, when your dad cut you off. And what are some other moments, painful moments that were just, in hindsight, incredibly valuable lessons?
2002, life blew up, lost $15 million, went $875,000 in debt. My fiance of 5 years ago walked out the door with an attorney. I was homeless. I showered at the gym. I didn't tell anybody that I was homeless. I hid my car behind a gate at apartment complexes so they wouldn't repo my car. That obviously the next year I learned about leverage and finance and all that stuff. That was a pivotal moment. That was a lot of, I put a 9mm Smith & Wesson in my mouth, sat down on my knees in a closet and pulled the trigger halfway down. It wasn't a sad thing, really. It was, I had lost everything, so I was just getting rid of the body. The who I was, which is in my book, the identity that I had thought I was.
So this was after having great success and then losing it, right? And obviously that's very traumatic.
My second rodeo.
Yeah.
Second rodeo.
And so you were close to just like,
I was done.
I can't do this again.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
What was it that pulled you back and got you fired back up to no, I'm gonna do it again?
Well, I think it was a really interesting time in my life because when I pulled the trigger halfway down, it was a Smith & Wesson double action trigger. So if it'd been a Glock, I wouldn't be here right now with you. And at the time, I was fine with that. Like, I was resigned. I didn't tell anybody. It didn't matter. I was just getting rid of the body. Everything I was and whoever I thought I was no more. I treated everybody with respect, so they all loved me. I was great at the top. I'm great at the bottom. I'm the same person homeless as I am, on top. So it doesn't, I'm the same guy. But getting through that, sitting at Starbucks and being broke, my ex sued me for more child support at the time, even though I'd lost everything. So the United States government took my passport. They were going to take my driver's license, incarcerate me. And I'm $875,000 in debt. My ex is trying to just bury me. And I'm like, I've been paying all this time. And, it was a tough time, but I really with that cup.
Slow, was it just like a decision then? I mean, from not doing that to just I'm going to fight? Or was it a gradual thing? Or
when I sat in the coffee shop and I had my Starbucks and I paid $4.58 for a cup of coffee, I realized that I really, for the first time, tasted that coffee. For the first time, I really tasted the Starbucks. I really appreciated every single drop of that mocha that I was drinking. And I realized that I didn't have a power bill. I didn't have any bills. No mortgage, no rent, no nothing. I had nothing. And I was free. So I went and visited all the people I loved. And then I went back and I pulled a business plan that I had written when I was 17 years old on how to help people sell their own homes without a real estate agent. And in 2003, I said, I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do, which was do this. So I published a magazine, helped people sell their own homes, handled the full transaction. I opened a discount brokerage, so they paid a couple $1,000s for me to handle their transaction. Then I opened up a construction company, started building, developing, doing fire restoration, opened up a banquet facility to help people, with getting married and all that kind of stuff. Opened up an insurance company, a car dealership,
So how did you do all that without any money?
Well, the magazine, I went out and I sold $120,000 in advertising with a mock-up of the magazine. So Distributech would distribute it to all the grocery stores. The grocery stores on average had 10,000 people going through them a week. So I'd like 480,000 people a week that were going through the grocery stores. I convinced a real estate brokerage at the time, help you sell, to buy a block of advertising. I sold it, another block of advertising to a title company, mortgage company, and then I collected money from everybody who advertised to sell their home on their own in the magazine. And I had $120,000 in sales, and it cost me $2,900 to print it and like $3,000 to distribute it.
You're off the races.
Yeah. So I was literally cash positive the first.
What year was this?
2003.
2003, because that's not that long ago.
Okay.
And you've turned this around to almost going completely broke, where most people would have given up, right? And you it just like had that moment, and you dug back in and got creative, and then it just like a momentum in life.
Yeah, I had to learn Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and InDesign, having no experience with that at all, because I couldn't afford to pay somebody to actually design and actually do the work. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating too, because the everyday person out there, I saw a quote one recently, and it was like, I've failed more than you've tried.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's the people don't have any idea the setbacks and like you talked about, crawling through glass naked, the struggles that an entrepreneur really has. And rarely does somebody just go like that. There's always those setbacks. And that's where I think, real character is tested, is when in the failures.
I've had people that have had that, and they've come back to me and say, Andrew, I wish like I had your experience. And I'm like looking at them going, you're worth $100-some-odd million. Like what? And you envy me? You're jealous of me? And they're like, yeah, you've experienced failure. I've never experienced failure. They never experienced like falling off. Like Mark Cuban, once he got his payout, he didn't go, it's not like he failed a bunch of times, right? So it was interesting to hear that. It's like, it can almost be a curse to be successful out of the gate, because you don't appreciate the success, and then you're always afraid of losing it. Right. I know you can drop me anywhere on the planet, and I will figure out how to deliver a product or a service to somebody and become a multimillionaire within a couple years.
Right.
Yeah. Anywhere on the planet.
Yeah, I think somebody told me once that I thought was interesting. It's way back in my early career, and this guy was, one of these really successful type people, and he had lost everything. And he said, there's a big difference between being broke and poor.
Oh yeah. Huge difference.
Yeah. Being poor, that's a problem. Being broke's a situation.
Yeah. Right. Being poor is a mentality, you can't change that, but, being broke is temporary. Yeah. Even Donald Trump was billions in debt. Yeah. He was beyond broke. He was like worse than me.
But he just keeps, charging forward.
Yeah. That was like 1992.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that as well.
Yeah. No, it's going to be, I think the business community and everyone's really excited to see. And this is going to be a really revealing process. If ever there was going to be a test of the Republican Party, now's your time to step up or shut up. You own the Supreme Court, you own the House, you own the Senate, and you have the executive branch. If you're the party, now's the time.
Yeah.
Now's the time. And I
to make a big difference.
Challenge all of them. I challenge them. Now's your time. If you want to make believers that you're the party, step up to the plate and give it everything you got, because there's nothing holding you back. There's no dissension.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, this has been great. And, the title of our podcast is The Power of Influence, right? And so who's some real influential people? I mean, right now you're a massive influence, right? You've got a huge following with your podcast and YouTube. And so, I mean, because influence is something you need to be, because there can be bad influence, right? I mean, even look at, celebrities or some of these people that are athletes and they have influence through their stardom, but they may not be the good people. And so they're not influencing in a positive way, right? So influence is a responsibility too. And you obviously have a lot of influence now, which can help you. I mean, opportunities probably just fall in your lap, right? You still have to act on them and stuff. But who's some people that really had influence on you?
Obviously, E. Joseph Gossman was a huge influence on me. Warren Buffett's another one that I've had a lot of influence. I have a lot. There's so many. I mean, I've ferociously gone through so much in personal development. Warner Earhart was a huge influence in my life as far as personal development and busting apart all the limiting beliefs that I had. It's endless. And I'm looking for more influence from people. I'm like, I want to learn. So if you've been there, done that, and everybody's got a gift to give, so I don't care if you're broken, homeless to a billionaire. I've had billionaires cook me steaks and, hang out and fly in their jets. And it's like, it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has something to contribute, that special gift that only they have, the knowledge only they possess. And I think the worst thing we can do is overlook the influence that everyone has. It's because everyone has something to give, and let them give it, because I think they're dying to give that away. So I don't put it, there's no caste system in my brain. The caste system that operates in most societies and even in our own culture doesn't exist. A homeless person can teach me as much as a billionaire.
Right. If you look for the lesson.
I look for the lesson. And I have the discernment to be able to decide what makes sense. Right. I trust myself.
Well, that's been fantastic. Well, I appreciate you doing this with me, and it's quite an honor, actually.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to learning from you as well.
Yeah, I'm just right there.
Yeah, I know. Almost a stone's throw away. Yeah.
I wish we would have met sooner. But how long have you been here?
I've been here for almost 7 years.
Wow.
Time goes so crazy fast. I moved.
Damage we could have done if we met 7 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's like, that's the thing. I meet people and we just create things and stuff happens.
Yes, find like-minded people. Because I think that's one of the things many people make the mistake. They're just simply hanging out with the wrong people, right? And they can't break free from that. They get stuck into that. It's kind of like, I talked about this the other day too, Forrest Gump and Sergeant Dan, right? This is kind of my war to die in. They kind of get this, like, instead of, breaking out of that, that mold that they think is who they, well, you were talking about that. You thought you were going to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
And you went a different way. Yeah. So, well, fantastic. Guys, I appreciate it. Yeah, power of influence, guys, it makes a big difference in your life. I mean, it's the people you hang around with, the influence that you can have on others, and sometimes it can be bad influence. And, I know we're going to be great friends, and you're going to have a positive influence on my life.